All right, what's good in the hood? Coming at you with another rant video. This one will be a part two, I would say, a continuation of my last rant, pertaining to the UFC and how they operate. Essentially put, UFC is a business first, sports second, and as we continue to get more and more news, and to be frank, this is a slow period for the UFC as they enter their new era, the Paramount era. I'm trying to grasp whatever straws I have, and that's why I'm breaking down some news that's coming out. It's a little old, but let's jump right back into it and reanalyze it. And Riem says this point that some people they don't want to accept it, and I get it. You hope that UFC and would follow the criteria that other major sports like MLB, NHL, you have NFL, NBA, etc. that they follow the we want to see the best of the best play each other, especially when you're getting into the championship, etc., the World Series, whatever, Super Bowl. And that's what it comes down to. You want to see the best competition, see who the best is year over year. And the UFC, they still follow that, but at the end of the day, they are a business. They write their own rules to a degree, and they listen to no one but themselves. And this is my take on that. Jumping right into it again, a little old, but let's revisit my boy Renat. Fuck. Let's see if I can say this. Fuck Radadinov. Fuck Radadinov. So he was a one of the few guys that got released recently by the UFC, and he stuck out because he was 6-0 in the company. He had one, I think, majority decision or something, or no contest, or he's 6-0 and one, but he's undefeated in the company. He is a big name, at least over, in that neck of the woods. He's Russian, so he probably has some of the caucus, obviously Russian fan base. And it was surprising because when you go to his record, he's just coming off a round one. Was it a finish right here? 54 seconds in the first round. Not the best of competition, but not the worst of competition. And that was only about what 3 months ago. But like I said, he's six and 0 in the UFC with one majority decision. Some of the fights obviously were close, controversial. Nicholas Dalby, etc., split decision. Some of them obviously were just straight decisions, so they might be a little snoozy. He's a little grappling heavy at times, but he does have a guillotine over my boy Kevin Lee, the Motown phenom. Bless his soul. Brian Battle, good win. And like I said, he has this. He has a finish, and that was his last win before his contract expired in the UFC. They didn't cut him. They didn't re-sign him, and it's crazy because you're thinking he's a prospect. I believe he was ranked 15th in the welterweight before he got um, let go. And if he wasn't, he was definitely hovering where, yeah, he might have not been and he might not have been considered a real prospect, to get into the top five, let alone win the belt. But he definitely would have been a good fill out for the top 15. And they didn't sign him. And it's, people are batting their heads. How could you not sign this guy? He's a legend. Look at this. The Nomad. I think his name's the Nomad. Let's see. What's his name? Does he have a nickname? The Gladiator. Why am I thinking Nomad? The Gladiator. And yeah, the Nomad's Shavkat. I'm sorry I disrespected you, Shavkat. Sure, he's 34, not the youngest, not the oldest, but he's overall 25 and 2. Like, we're thinking, and the rumor might be suggesting, hey, like maybe he's not the most entertaining, so he's not good for business in that sense. Because even though he has a good amount of name followers on his Instagram, for the casual viewer, especially the American casual viewer, he doesn't draw a lot of attention because he's going to rely on that grappling style, which they hate for better or worse. On top of it, maybe there's the asterisk of he's from Russia. And obviously, you have someone like Peter Yan, who's the champion, and he's from Russia and he lives in Russia. But he's entertaining, obviously, and he's been in the UFC for a while. So maybe he's grandfather then. But yeah, maybe, excuse me, these seltzers are killing me. Maybe it's a mix of it's bad business to be, having a lot of Russian fighters that are, getting more prominent. But I think it just comes down to the fact that he's not the most entertaining. And they're probably thinking welterweight's one of the hottest divisions right now. And if you put this guy, and he just starts killing off prospects and the guys on the perennial rankings and, top 15, etc., they're probably thinking it's not good for business. That's going to hurt the division. And he's not got a strong future like, let's say, Islam is, where you actually were like, you knew Islam when he moved up. He's probably going to win the belt, even though, again, he's wrestling heavy and his fan base is obviously a lot bigger. But on the flip side, this is where people get really angry. And I'm pulling straws right now, but I think it's a fair assessment to compare. So you have a pay per view coming up, right? January 31st, second Paramount pay per view. So this is a big one, right? Whoever's on this is going to have some, special attention. And hovering right at the end of, so this is would be the fifth fight. So this guy might be on the main card, no less, of a pay per view, tied to Avasa. Bam Bam. And I love him. Shoeies. He's got that perfect dad bod fupa build and man boobs, etc. But I mean, if you know, you know. Bam Bam. It still says he's number 19 out of heavyweights. I find that shocking. But let's look. I mean, he hasn't won a fight since 2022, man. And sure, it was a good win. It was against Derek Lewis. He finished Derek Lewis. Not the easiest thing to do. The guy has the most finishes, like heavyweight, I think, in the whole company, etc. So it's a good win. It's aging well because Derek is, he's hovering on potentially getting another title shot if he gets maybe one more good win. But I mean, the fact is, he's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 losses in a row. And on top of that, he's been pretty inactive. He hasn't fought since August of 2024. I think part of it was because he's been focusing on his, shoey business. You got to make money because, he ain't going to be fighting forever. And he's got a good fan base. I'll give him that. So he's popular. He has outside business, and he wanted to actually not be a fat lard ass. And I love you, Ty, but you're the epitome. And he I think was like on his off season, he's weighing like 280, 290, pushing 300. So I think he's trying to get better. So maybe he's gonna look really good January. But this is something where you would think, why would they not cut this guy? But they'd cut this guy. This guy's obviously not ranked. Maybe he was 15, so he's hovering. This guy, I think, is still in the rankings, but he shouldn't be. I mean, let's see. Heavyweights. Ty. Somehow Ty is still. I don't know how he's still 12. That's a little unusual, but yeah, it comes down obviously to the fact that Ty, he's got a big name. He's popular in Australia. That's something that they want to keep strengthening their reins on. They keep going out there like at least once a year now. So it's a good market for them to have, and he's popular. At the end of the day, him and some of those other characters like who else? Junior Tafa, like another just big fat guy that and it looks like he's at least losing weight light heavyweight now, but he's another guy that loses a lot, like considerably a lot, and questions why you make yourself question, is this guy merit being in the UFC? And they're like, yeah, but he's entertaining and he has a good fan base and a market we want to capitalize on. So that's what they're doing there. It stinks obviously for someone like him and some of these other guys where he says he's got supposedly offers that are probably gonna supersede what he would have gotten on his next tiered contract, and it's good for him because he's probably gonna fight lesser competition, make more money, and probably get more fights consistently too. So for him, it's a win. It's just people say it's a lose for the sport as a whole because you're letting these at least in the company undefeated prospects skedaddle and go to like the B side. So that's one side that I've noticed at least recently, and there's obviously a few other cases of lumps and etc. that they leave on. But let's jump into another realm of things. And I'm bobbing between my tabs. You have Ilya Taporia. I could have done a whole video just breaking this down because divorce is a nasty beast, this and that, and the implications of what's going to go on. To catch you up to speed, obviously Taporia, he's dealing with potentially a looming nasty divorce, so he's not fighting anytime soon. But he also hasn't vacated the belt, so they're going to be doing a interim belt in January. Justin Gaethje and Paddy the Baddy. Very weird, but nonetheless, he's still taking pot shots from the side. And this was an interview I think done like 1 or 2 days ago. Eldor Barry Den MMA, some Spanish dude that's homies with him. And essentially he said, and then it's funny because he's going after Arman when Arman's like not even close to fighting him. He went off Arman first, saying he had his chance to fight for the title and he pulled out. Maybe he had to change his underwear after making that decision. What people don't understand is that people are investing money to promote him. So when you see someone you're supporting, you're investing money in, and they give you that in return, would you keep supporting them? Well, that's what exactly the UFC are doing. They sat at a table, and you know what they said? Fook, fook Armin. So Armin, here, go fook yourself. Um, is he true in some of that statement? Yeah, Armin definitely, dropped the ball. Took all that promotion when he was supposed to fight Islam way back in January, and he didn't show up because he, had an injury, etc. It is what it is, and he came back and he did what he needed to do. But the funny thing is, Ilya, he's not fighting anytime soon. There seems to be no expectation he's going to fight before even, let's say, June. So he's going to miss the first half of the year probably because the divorce could take a while, and he doesn't seem like he wants to fight until that's squared away, which I respect. But he's taking shots at the number one contender who's not even on his radar because he's on an interim title fight. And on top of that, Ilya, you can't even fight him. And Armin's obviously coming back. You talked about taking time off from fighting to fix your family issues, but it looks like you have plenty of free time for all these interviews. You're a joke, El Panocha. And then we got a little kid. He's a pussy. And why does this go back to UFC and its business practices? They're letting this guy who he's one of their biggest names, right? He's probably top three, top four, probably just based off his stellar run in 2025. And even though he's not fighting anytime soon, there's still huge anticipation for he returns. Either, to defend his lightweight belt, unify the lightweight belt, jump right to welterweight. Who knows? He's still a massive name. So, they're not making it so he has to vacate the belt. When I think this would be a textbook case where, hey, you got to vacate it, but the moment you come back, you're guaranteed a title shot. So he should already been vacating this and not having a stupid intern belt. And on top of that, he's just taking pot shots from the sideline against a guy that on his own is showing that UFC is a business and not a sport, where he's taking pot shots at the number one contender that for one reason or another, you could say otherwise if he's deserving or not. Arman is outside of the picture right now. He has no title fight. He has no fights booked. There's no one in like the top five available to fight for him, at least so he can keep his relevancy. So he's going to be inactive now, probably for at least the first quarter, first half, until some of the other fights pan out, like Holloway and obviously the interim belt. So it's just, if you think about it, if you went to other sports, it wouldn't make any sense for a guy that's hurt but they're allowed to hold on to like some sort of championship and they can't rerun or do like a new championship in the meantime. And on top of that, that guy's doing, you know, interviews and creating controversy and trying to keep his name relevant, which I get because you want to stay relevant in UFC. You want to stay in those algorithms. You want to make sure the fans don't forget about you because if he's not fighting for six months, people to a degree will forget you when there's more pertinent things going on. But what's funny is that let's see, Ilya has also taken shots at Bob around so many tabs. He's taken shots against his old friend Islam. This was also, I believe, in the same interview, which is why it's even crazier because the whole idea was people are supposed to show respect and be like, hey, Ilya, you're going through a divorce. I think most fighters will agree that's a pretty pertinent reason not to fight right away. And a lot of them already been through divorces, so they can relate on the whole. Like, yeah, that's a very stressful time, and on top of it, you have a lot of money, and so money is gonna be a big factor. And you have this kid, so it's gonna be very complicated, and you want to just make sure that's all squared away before you, start training to either kill or be killed in one of the dangerous weight classes, lightweight. So, Ilya, he's also taking pot shots against Islam, who Islam's right now at the top of the world right now, and he's trying to say stuff like, "Hey, like Islam, I'm still waiting to fight Islam. That is the end goal. I will chase him up to welterweight." And he's saying, "I've always wanted the fight. I've always been ready for it. I've defended my title at 155. We'll see." And where does he say? He says something like, "Everyone knows it's a fight that everyone wants to see," which we get and for some reason he hasn't accepted. Then he talks too much. It's very easy to talk from thousands of kilometers away to judge and criticize me. But when you're in the octagon with me, you'll start to realize that I'm not Jack Della Mandela, JDM, and I'm not Dan Hooker. I'm not all those packages you packages. Oh my god, it's a new name for cans. I like it. I'm something very different. So he's coming at now Islam, who Islam did. Islam. Everyone had to take their hats off. They didn't like the performance, but he moved up. He did the unthinkable, and he took the 170 belt. And now he's, like I said, at the top of the world, probably king of the whole sport, and all the tension's on him. Ilya can't even fight him, and he has to arguably go defend the 155 belt before he even has the chance to go 170, and he's taking pot shots trying to say Islam didn't want to fight him, this and this. He's the one ducking. I'm not the one ducking. Blah blah blah. And on top of that, he goes after he goes after Habib too. Says they're so cocky, and arrogant. I'd really love to submit him in front of Nurmagomedov. And if Khabib wants to step in afterwards, I'll gladly step on his head too. Reading this backwards too. He says, although with Islam, maybe that's something fans want to see to dominate him on the feet at last, land 3 or 4 clean shots where I need to, and then submit him in his corner in front of Habib. I mean, everyone loves to say, like, oh, the biggest feather. I think Armin said this too. Like, the biggest feather in their cap would be to, like, defeat Islam, especially by finish, knowing that Habib's in the corner. But it's just crazy that he's saying, like, hey, like, I'm gonna do the unthinkable. No one's ever only one guy has ever finished Islam, and it was a flash knockout. Other than that, no one's gone close, I would say. And on top of that, he's saying he's gonna submit him, and he's gonna do it in front of Habib, and then he's gonna, he's gonna what? Call out Habib on the mic after. Everyone knows Habib's never coming back. The guy's been retired for years. It's been hinted, but the man won't even take what, like 50 million. Like Dana's throwing the bus at him. So that's just something that's like, what are you doing there? But he's taking shots at Arma. He's taking shots at Habib. He's taking shots at Islam, and he can't even fight. He can't even fight. Like, and that's the thing is, no one wants to take like Armin came obviously at him, but I think most fighters in the position where you can't really shit talk a guy when he's dealing with some personal issues. But it's a business, and it's all about staying relevant. It's all about, staying just at the top of the radar for the fans, because at the end of the day, you lose interest from the fans, and you're gonna lose money, and it's, the UFC is gonna lose money, and whatever is Ilya does next is gonna be big money, especially if he can get in the White House, and especially if he can eventually push for that third belt. So Ilya's gonna be protected, I think, pretty well. He's not gonna probably have to vacate, and it seems like the hint would be is that he's gonna be able to avoid Armin, fight either Patty or Justin, probably beat one of those guys because I think they're more winnable than Armin, and then UFC will allow him to vacate and probably go chase Islam for could be his last fight in the UFC. So again, they're doing things. They're obviously supporting the bullshit of, allowing a guy to hold on to a belt when he can't defend it while he's still talking shit like he's a fighter. And then they're gonna continue to allow him to dodge the number one contender, which is I think that's the thing where I'm gonna go into my last point is where you think the number one contender, especially someone like an Arman, where he's never lost to the champ, so it's not like a repeat or anything. And he's been looming for a year plus, is considered, rightfully deserving of the title shot, and he's ready to fight. And you're still not giving it to him, and you're still avoiding, creating what would be considered that number one versus the champion. But let's move on. This is last, and Yahoo Sports be doing a good job with their imaging. Poton's looking real thick boy over here. But yeah, this actually came out today, so I've already mentioned this in another video. I think Poton, Alex Pereira was always looming to jump up to heavyweight, especially with the news seemingly suggesting that Tom Aspinall's eyes have left the chat. He's getting surgery. There's probably going to be some recovery time. He's probably not permanently blind, but he's definitely going to have to postpone any sort of fight in the near future, which stinks for him because he's been inactive for reasons outside his control. And he had that no contest against Cyril Gain. So now the rumor is suggesting Poton's going to move up, and good old Joe Rogan is agreeing with us. There's a lot of chatter about him fighting in the heavyweight division. There's a lot of chatter about him perhaps even fighting Cyril Gain. I don't know how much is true. I haven't talked to Dana about it. Come on, Joe Rogan. You probably text him high as crap after that podcast, and you're just like, is he fighting him? And Dana will probably be like, yeah, Joe, yeah. But it's not a logical move, Joe said about the Pereira's possible jump to heavyweight. He's 240 now. I don't know how he knows he's 240. Joe Rogan just randomly dropping guys at BMIs. 240 plus. Make no mistake about it. That guy can knock out heavyweights, which I agree. No doubt about it. He hits harder than anyone they've ever recorded. I think that's also true. Pereira himself says Lon teased the heavyweight division move because, A, he's getting older. B, it's hard for him to make weight at light heavyweight, which is bananas because he used to make middleweight. And C, the door is wide open for him to, do what no one else has done. And I keep saying he's the first man to probably have a solid chance of doing it, is become a 3-division champion. Why is this problematic? Well, let's go back to my original thesis. I'm writing a paper right now. We go to the heavyweights. We even go to the light heavyweights. Let's start with the light heavyweights. Alex Pereira is the champ. If you know, you know. He beat Ankalaev. He broke his foot. It was a flash KO. He's coming off losing to Ankalaev. So the logical next step would be, okay, Yuri, he's already lost to Pereira twice by finish. So Yuri's just never going to get it. So obviously it goes down to Ankalaev. Well, actually, they're tied 1-1. That's interesting. Seeds are being planted when Pereira leaves that Yuri's going to be fighting for the belt. I'm just saying. But yeah, Ankalaev, I think most people would agree. Even if they don't like it, Ankalaev, he got a 50-45 essentially, and then lost on, was it KO in the first round? They should run the trilogy back. It makes total sense. Ankalaev has only lost, to two guys at all, and the other guys retired. So it's just him and Pereira. Everyone else is second. Carlos Willerberg, he's got a 9-fight win streak, but he's the odd man out, but he's looming obviously in the background. But the expectation was, if there's a need for a trilogy, you got to run a trilogy like this, especially when it's back to back to back. It just makes sense. It gets that cat off Pereira's back. But business wise, they probably think there's no point. They probably think Ankalaev has a good chance of beating Pereira, which is going to tarnish Pereira's star power, and they don't probably want Ankalaev as champ to begin with. Hence why he had to wait so long in the first place. And then you look at heavyweight. Heavyweight's one of the worst divisions right now, outside of like the women's bantamweights. Sorry, Brock Lesnar. I love you, Kale. And so, yeah, heavyweight's the weakest division. And on top of it, you have a champion that's been inactive due to Bones Jones, Joni Bones. And he's obviously out too. So, but they're not stripping him, which is interesting. Even though he's on a medical emergency type thing, the dirty eye nails or whatever, the fingernails of Cyril Gane, I guess, were notably very dirty when he stabbed Aspinall. But yeah, so he's out. So they don't want to wait too long, so perhaps they're doing an intern, perhaps they'll vacate. I don't know yet, but the rumor is, hey, we need to have someone on that, and there's a lot of active guys. Gaines obviously very much ready. Pereira's on part of have his foot healed around end of winter, early spring. So what better way to have a fun way to keep the heavyweight division rolling is to take Pereira. He might even vacate. He might even not. I don't even know. They'll probably have him vacate because he's gonna go, I don't want to move back to light heavyweight. I'm bulked up, so they're gonna have him fight the number one contender Gain for presumably an interim belt. And I said that's problematic because I've already said it doesn't make sense for the light heavyweight. You just got to finish that trilogy. And on top of that, sure, Gain's the number one contender. Volkov, someone like Volkov should be in that fight. Like Volkov has the worst robbery loss against Gain, so he's deserving of a rematch with him. B, he's actually a heavyweight that's been fighting for a while now. Has good wins. The number 2 ranked guy. He has wins over Serge Pavlovich. He has a close loss to Blades. He's just coming off a really good win against Shayton Almeida, that humper. He has a bunch of, he has a loss to Lewis. But the point is, like, there's guys in the actual division that they could run, especially if it's not for undisputed, it's for an intern. This would actually make sense where you say these two should run it back. Like, I think it would be a fun fight, and it actually gives Justice Volkov, who was supposedly given an IOU from Dana, saying, "I got you, kid. I'll get back to you." I don't know what he got after he was given Jelton Almeida after the worst robbery, or one of the worst robberies of the year. But they're doing it because they're like, it's good for business. If Pereira can, win the heavyweight belt, at least intern. He's now got that technical status of being a 3-division champ. I don't know if intern belts count. But on top of it, you set up a lot of big fights, right? He wants to fight John Jones. I've said that's going to be on there. Aspinall versus him would be a big fight. The sky's the limit. I mean, there's so many guys in the heavyweight division he can fight. Like I said, Derek Lewis is hovering. They'd probably book him versus Derek because they know it's a stand-up guaranteed knockout. But it tarnishes MMA as a sport. It tarnishes as a sport because there's in-division stuff that you should be taking care of. Makanov, Kalaev, etc., and I'd arguably say Volkov. And they're going to just throw those guys to the curb and say, screw you, you're not getting what you deserved or what makes sense, and we're going to run a fight that's for short-term gain. They want to have a big name like Pereira, and they want to have a big fight like him at heavyweight. It is what it is. I will gladly watch it. I think a lot will too, and I think it's definitely building up towards some big fights. But it's just continuing to question UFC. But let me know what you think. I'll put a comment. Tell me what you think. Is UFC give me some examples of why UFC is a sport or more so a business. And I'll happily debate those as needed. But I think this is something we got to accept because it's Paramount. We're in the golden era of they're chasing money. They're chasing money, money, money. And I think especially when you're on the first year of a new deal like Paramount, they're going to do everything in their power to fill up these pay-per-views, especially with big ones like the White House and International Fight Week, etc. MSG in November. They're going to be chasing big fights. They're going to be chasing that, and they're also, as I said before, they're going to be trimming the fat because you get this new deal, and you're going to be thinking it's not just about making money; it's about saving money. And this guy, who knows? He could have stayed in the UFC for another 20 fights and could be getting paid handsomely 120 and 120, and they'd be thinking he doesn't bring in any value, and he's killing all these prospects. We don't want to do it. We're not gonna pay him, and B, we're not gonna support his career trajectory. So let me know what you think. It is what it is. I don't think it's terrible for the sport because at the end of the day, the more audience you have, the more money they make, the bigger the fights they can put on. So, yeah, like, subscribe, comment.